Hola familia, it's Alex. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So today I have a new series that I'm starting on my channel. I have been wanting to do some sort of ranking my eyeshadow palette video on my channel, but I didn't know how to incorporate it. So it's taken me about 2 months to think about this, and I think I've come up with a great way for me specifically how I am bringing in eyeshadow palettes into my collection and how I'm using my eyeshadow palettes. That way you guys can see ranking of them. So if you are interested to figure out what exactly I'm ranking, how am I pulling these palettes? Are they new? Are they old? Are they both? Stay tuned. But first, if you're new to my channel, welcome to the familia. My name is Alejandra. I'm an eyeshadow enthusiast with a dash for Japan. If that is something that interests you, subscribe, join us. And now without further ado, let's get on with the ranking. Just a fair warning, you guys, the next 2 months you guys will probably see me wearing all 4 seasons on my channel. Typically the month of March and April, you will see me going from a turtleneck to a tank top, back to a turtleneck, to a long sleeve, to a hoodie, to a bathing suit, because the season here is spring confused. It's a little bit of a confusion around here. So today it is freezing. 2 days ago, I was literally wearing leggings and a tank top. So I'm just warning you guys, if you see my attire a little bit off, it's because I don't know how to dress. It's all confusing outside. So anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that, but let's get on to the ranking. So how I decided to do the ranking, I've been noticing that a lot of people that I do watch do ranking videos of new palettes they have brought into their collection. Well, the problem is I'm not bringing in many palettes per month on my channel. I'm trying to be more selective of my palettes, as you guys know, and if I do bring in new palettes, I do want to share them with you guys, use them on camera, and not just buy them to hoard them. So what I decided to do, because I really wanted to do this and incorporate eyeshadow palettes more into my channel, as I normally try to anyway, I figured since a lot of the palettes, number one, that I'm pulling on my Shop My Stash are palettes that I barely used or not ever used that are brand new still in my collection, or in my Pan Those Eyeshadows, it seems like every time I pull a new eyeshadow in, seems to be one of my new eyeshadow palettes that I never used. So I thought to myself, well, since I'm already using these palettes and giving myself at least a month's worth of each of these palettes, because either it's in my Shop My Stash or Pan Those Eyeshadows, I can get a good idea of how I feel about these eyeshadow palettes. So you're gonna get palettes that are older, you're gonna get palettes that are relatively new, and some that are completely brand new that I have reviewed on my channel, and you can see how they rank within all the palettes that I have been using within that month. Now, here's the catch. Typically in a month, I'm only really using about 5 to 7 eyeshadow palettes because I'm considering that I'm panning 5 single shadows and I'm pulling out between 3 to 4 eyeshadow palettes on top of that in my Shop My Stash. So it's not really a lot. I may at 1 month only use 5 eyeshadow palettes. And for me, 5 eyeshadow palettes is not a lot to rank. So I wanted to give you guys at least 10 in these rankings. So what I decided to do, I'm going to do this every 2 months. So you're going to see this every 2 months. So I use these are January's and February's palettes that I used, abused. These were in Pan Those Eyeshadows, and if I didn't get a chance to use the Pan Those Eyeshadows within January or February, you'll see it in March and April. So anything you see that is relatively brand new or I've been really incorporating into my eye looks, you're gonna see in this ranking video. I just wanted to give you guys my basis of how I am doing this, because I know that with many other channels, they're doing more brand new eyeshadow palettes, and I can't afford that, you guys. I cannot afford that. I'd rather use my money for other things. I've been updating my wardrobe. I've been doing a lot of family things, and that to me is priceless versus an eyeshadow palette. So I'm being very particular what I'm bringing in, and I don't want to be irrelevant to this platform either. So I had to think of a way, and I hope this is okay with you guys, and I hope you guys like it, because it'll be every 2 months you'll see this video. It's not every month unless I use a ton of eyeshadow palettes within that month. Then you'll see it. So today I have 12 eyeshadow palettes. These eyeshadow palettes are mainly Shop My Stash, Pan Those Eyeshadows, and anything else that I threw in that I have a good idea of where I would place these eyeshadow palettes. So we're gonna go ahead and just get started. All right, let's start off with the bottom 6 because I have 12, obviously. The very last place for the eyeshadow palettes that I used in the month of January and February was this one. This is the Wondrous Fling palette. This is by Wander, what is it, Wander Beauty. I'll try to do close-up of all the eyeshadow palettes for you guys. This eyeshadow palette was the least of my favorites of all of them that I used. I like the color story. I like the fact that they're shimmery and that they do swatch nicely, you guys, but on the eyes, they suck. Let's just put it clearly and how it is. They suck. They do not really adhere to your eye unless you wet them, and if you try to pack them on dry, they pick up on their own. Now I understand why Drea didn't like it and she wanted to see if I wanted to try out. It's just a bad palette overall. I truthfully think that this will be decluttered. I'll probably give it to my kids to play with outside for chalk work, like they can rip it up and use it for chalk outside on the sidewalk. I'll let them play around with it because I really don't see myself passing this along to anyone, nor do I care to give it to anyone else because it's a really bad palette. It's just not my favorite and definitely number 12. Number 11 goes to the BH Nice palette. This one I had high hopes because I got the Naughty palette and I love the Naughty palette. This one was under $5, at least that's how much was paid for this one. So it really didn't break the bank. I love the color story of this one. I thought this one would have been a really good one. I could tell you right now that the mattes are drier, but they really do show up. I don't mind the mattes in this palette, and there's not much of them, but the ones that I did use, okay, I like them. The shimmers is where I had trouble with them. They were crumbly, and again, they didn't really adhere to my eyes as well. Certain ones. The green one was amazing on the eyes. This orange one is really, really good. This one right here in Snowball was a little bit of like a dual chrome topper, but it just basically blended away after the day went. Like I didn't see it towards the end of the day. These I had to wet, and you can really see how I had to dig in these, and they really didn't give me, like this didn't wow me at all. I'm happy that this was less than $5 because honestly, this was so underwhelming. If you got this one before the Naughty one, I understand why you were hesitant on getting the Naughty one. This one is not as good as the Naughty one. This one I could have done without with, and definitely something that I would consider giving to the kids as well to play with. Number 10 goes to the LA Girl Main Stage Desert Dream palette. Now the color story of this I absolutely love. My concern and my issue with this is the formula. The mattes are not my favorite. You really have to pack them on. They're more of a sheer formula, and it just takes a while to build up. It's not the kind that I really want where it packs a punch. Now, if you're somebody who wants color but doesn't want it to be super pigmented, this might be something for you. The shimmers are gorgeous, but they're very, very thick, super crumbly, so you have to be careful how much you put on your eyes because you will end up with a lot of texture on your eyelids. So this is a kind of formula where I really have to play around with it, take my time with it, because I got to build up the mattes, but I also got to be careful with the shimmer. So it's like heavy on the mattes, light on the shimmer. So for that reason, it's not so much of the color story, it's more the formula that's why it's at the bottom of this. Number 9 goes to Think Pink palette by Coastal Scents. I think the quality of this is great. This was in a Pan Those Eyeshadows. I got to use this a lot more. As you guys can see, this is the one that I had in there. So I really got to use this a little bit more. The reason why this is on the lower one is more of the color story than anything. The color story is nice. It gets me out of my comfort zone. If you are the type that likes a lot of neutral shades and you want something to get you out of your comfort zone, this might be something for you because it's not super colorful. It sticks to a color story, and you can multitask this eyeshadow palette for other things. Blush, maybe a highlighter over here. So you're getting a little bit of everything in here where you can use it all over your face. But for me, this color story doesn't appeal to me as much. I purchased this palette when colorful eyeshadow palettes weren't really readily available unless one of the mainstream brands brought it out. You really didn't see it. So this is the closest that I got to it. And this is one of my oldest palettes that I own. Still works great. I still reach for it. But I have since then gotten a lot better, and the quality has gotten better. So that's why it's at the bottom of the 12. Number 8 goes to ColourPop Fade Into Hue palette. Now this one I got last year. I did a palette bingo with this one. The main reason why is because I feel like this is not up to par with the ColourPop eyeshadow palette formula. Love the concept of it. Love the whole entire thing. Like, I just like this palette a lot. And I reached for it quite a bit, especially if I needed some sort of colorful shade that the palette that I was working with did not have. I just wish that the shimmers were a little bit more like the shimmers that I know ColourPop can do. The quality just went down on this eyeshadow palette. I don't know if all of them are that way because I'm not buying every single ColourPop eyeshadow palette that comes out. But as far as this one, I wish that the shimmers were a lot better. And this one, I wish it was more of a true red than a pinky red. Other than that, I really do like this one. I do like it. It's higher up. It's just the quality wasn't as there. It's not that it's terrible, but compared to other ColourPop palettes, this one is down at the bottom as far as its formula. Number 7 goes to the Jackie Aina palette, and not again because of the color story. A lot of these is not because of the color story, it's because of the formula. This formula just was not the best. The mattes are okay, I like them. Not all the shimmers are created equal in this palette, and that's what bothers me, because if I'm paying the amount of money that I'm paying for this palette, I'm expecting it to be a lot better quality than this. And that one shimmer that I played around with felt exactly like the shimmers in here, and this one was cheaper than this one. So this needed to be a little bit more better as far as their shimmer goes. I do love this color story, so that's why it's a little bit higher up because of the color story. Just that the formula actually is not the best when it comes to Anastasia, so that's why it's a little bit lower. Now let's move on to the top 6, shall we? So for number 6, I actually went with the e.l.f. Retro Paradise palette. This was a lot better quality than the Jackie Aina palette, I felt. The shimmers packed on a punch, nice and creamy. They weren't as crumbly. They just packed a great look. Like, everything about this palette I love. I can go neutrals. I have those pops of lighter colors in here, the darker shades. I mean, this really worked great. I was surprised, impressed with this one, definitely. This really is the top 6. This is the bottom of the top 6. This is great. Really enjoyed this one, a lot better than my bottom 6. Number 5 goes to this palette, and this was in one of my Shop My Stashes, or not on my Shop My Stash, my Pan Those eyeshadows. This is the Huda New Nudes palette. The reason why it's the 5th one and not up higher is not so much of the quality, but the color story. The color story is beautiful, but it's not something that I reach for on a daily basis because I like more color in my looks lately, and that may change in the future, and that's why I try not to declutter too much, because I know that my taste may change and I already have what I have, and why spend the money again is my whole concept of it. So for this, the formula is amazing. Love the formula of the mattes, the shimmers, gorgeous. Absolutely loved every look I came out with. It's just the color story. If it had a little bit more of a pack a punch, it would have been a little bit higher, but the quality is amazing for this one. Number 4 goes to the BH Naughty palette. I had pulled this out in January, Shop My Stash, and you guys, do I have to keep going with this one? You guys know why I love this one so much. And it's not higher because the quality of the ones that I'm going to show you are a little bit better than this one, but this is amazing. If you could still find it, I would highly recommend getting this palette because it is that good. I love it. Number 3 goes to Give Me Glow Sweet and Sticky palette. I did a whole review on this eyeshadow palette with its companion palette that I will show you in a second. I think that this quality is awesome. I love Give Me Glow's quality. Their formula is really, really good. Hands down, one of my top favorite formulas when it comes to their shimmers and their mattes. This is how I love my mattes. This is how I love my shimmers. Perfect. This is on the top 3 for formula purposes, and this is the most neutral eyeshadow palette that they have. Quality is great. Whether they do colorful eyeshadow palettes or the neutrals, they still do a great job. So top 3 definitely. Number 2 goes to its sister palette, the Vivid Rose palette. Now this one, color story is beautiful, you guys. This just reminds me of like a romantic photo shoot, or like you have a backdrop of flowers behind you. You're sitting on a swing with this beautiful white summer dress. Like, that's what I see when I see this palette. Gorgeous. Love it. Every color story or every look that I came out with these colors, amazing. Quality, amazing. Really, really enjoy this eyeshadow formula. I wish, and I'm hoping their customer service has improved, because a lot of you guys have said you guys have good experience with it. So crossing fingers, they've gotten a little bit better with that. My number 1 spot, you guys, goes to this palette, the the Blueberry Muffin palette. This is definitely my number 1 palette when it comes to blue eyeshadows. Now, When I say blue eyeshadow, a blueberry, because I know somebody had mentioned that they wanted more blues in this palette, and I get it. But they named it blueberry muffin because a blueberry muffin is not just blue. It has different aspects to the blueberry muffin. You get those grays in there. You're getting those shimmery, sparkly shades. You're getting the blues, but it's also a cake, kind of like a muffin. So a muffin is brown. So I understand the color story. And if you wanted more blues, I would go with like the Blue Moon palette from ColourPop. That's where you're gonna get more blues. This, I think, goes with the name and the title of the palette. And I think that's why it's my number one, because the color story just blew me away and the quality blew me away. Everything about this, it came at the right time of when I wanted this palette. In January into February is where I love to wear a lot more blues because of the weather, blues and grays and silvers. This just pulled at my heartstrings during the winter time. Amazing quality. Beautiful, you guys. I cannot say it enough. Beach, whatever you're doing, stay with it because you're doing such a great job with it. Currently, I'm trying the avocado palette one, the avocado toast, and you'll see that in the next ranking one. And again, quality's amazing, you guys. And for the price, you can't beat it for the price. Awesome. They are doing it well. So this is my number one for January and February. Looking at all the palettes I used in January, February, this really blew me away. Alrighty, folks, there is my ranking of the 12 eyeshadow palettes that I really dug into, really played with in the last 2 months, which is January and February. You will probably see this again in the beginning of May. I'm going to try to do this in the beginning of the month. Unfortunately, in the month of March, I had so much going on in the beginning of the month that you saw that I added extra videos in the last 2 weeks because I had to keep up with the demand of the videos that I had to put up. So typically this will be in the beginning of the month. So I do apologize. This is smack in the middle of the month, but I did want to get it up there before the month ended. So you'll see this again in the beginning of May. You'll see palettes that I used in March and April, and you can get an idea of what it is that I'm going to be ranking if you do watch my Shop My Stash videos and if you watch my Instagram when I post new palettes that I am using with my Pan Those eyeshadows. So anything in those three kinds of content, you're going to get an idea of what it is that I'm going to be ranking. So there you guys, it's not going to be a secret of what palettes I'm going to use because I don't keep those a secret. You will know. So thank you guys so much for watching any of these eyeshadow palettes that are still available. All of them will be linked down in the description box. Let me know if you would have ranked this differently if you were using these palettes. I'd love to know your top 3. Thank you again. I'll put more videos over here for your enjoyment. Until then, adios.